Good evening. Just want to say that we're, on behalf of the organization, we're extremely excited with what transpired here. Mike McGlinchey is a guy that we've been excited about for some time. Would tell you that about a week ago, we go through the process. The scouts do all their homework, ongoing process that goes, year long and goes into last year. And Mike McGlinchey's a guy we've scouted for a long time, but just kept gaining steam. The more we watched him, the more we liked him. And I would tell you that, throughout this process, we get the scouts. I explained the process the other day. The scouts come in, the coaches come in. And every time Kyle and I kept watching him, he just kept getting better. And you go into the makeup of the kid, one of the smartest players in the draft, off the charts in terms of his presence. Our combine interview, I was just looking at my notes upstairs, and one of the top interviews, and just in terms of presence and makeup. And it's a guy, two-time captain at Notre Dame, started 39 straight games. He's healthy. We felt like both in the short term and in the long term at a premium position, particularly when you've just invested in a quarterback. And more so than that, just an important position in football. And you couple that with take the position. Who are the players that excite you most? This was a guy, and last week we decided that if he's there at 9, he's the guy we're taking. We had other players that we had to prepare, and we probably had a list of 4. We were going to list some offers if McGlinchey wasn't there, but we had other guys in line. But we're very pleased to have added Mike McGlinchey to our team.
Kyle, how do you see him fit into your offense?
Playing tackle. Starting him out at right tackle here. Even feeling, especially with turnout for training camp. But he can play either tackle. I think he can be he can start in this league as right tackle, left tackle, swing tackle. I'm sure he can go in and help us make guard too if need be. But I think he's capable of doing all of them. Except maybe center, too tall for Jimmy to get that low. But he's a good player.
I realize that Trent has the shoulder, but what is his status on this team? Have you talked to him about the addition of Mike McGlinchey?
He can be healthy in training camp. I have not spoken with him. And the status on this team is that he's on our team. I'm glad we have some competition, some very good competition. Glad we were able to sign Gillian back too to add some. When Trent gets back here in training camp, I think it's going to be a heck of a battle, and I think it's going to be a very good problem for people in Minnesota.
There was no thought about trying to move him at this point.
I think the reality, you look at our tackle situation, you have Trent, whose contract's up after this year. You have Joe Staley, who, in 2 seasons, his contract's up. And we believe both in the short term and long term that this was a wise decision. So, we're fired up. We really are. This is a guy we got excited about. As I said, every time we watched the film, he just got better and just made of the right stuff, both on and off the field. And very proud to have him part of our organization.
Don, you said if McGlinchey was there, you're going to take him, not trade. But did you not take any trade calls? You have the quarterback there, obviously.
Yeah. No, we fielded a bunch of calls. And, Tim, this was an interesting I've only done it 2 years, but there were a lot of calls, but a lot of people hedging, hey, we're going to call you around pick 6, and if our guy's still there, would you guys be interested in listening? And, what we really wanted to do with everyone, we wanted to wait until that 8th pick because, like I said, if McGlinchey was there, we had decided earlier this week we weren't going to hesitate. We were going to go, and fortunately he was.
You're worried that McGlinchey would have gone right behind you?
A lot of ties to Chicago. His line coach from Notre Dame is at Chicago now, and so I think he was a guy. It seemed like throughout the league kept getting hotter as the draft drew near, and so there was some concern, but we were prepared for that as well.
Looking at the landscape of the league, Nate Solder gets a big deal. It didn't seem like there were a ton of tackles in this class. How much does that play into your decision to use a premium pick on a guy like McGlinchey?
I think that's all true, but really, our process, people say, what is your philosophy? Is it best player? Is it need? I think it's a combination of both. And I said upstairs, we were just on the radio, and, I think a great lesson for me, it will scar me for life, really, is what happened in Philly last year. Trent was out, Staley breaks his face, Gilliam hurts his knee, and we're playing Eric Magnuson, a guy who's a guard center for us at right tackle, and the kid was valiant in his effort. But you get in those type of things, those affect you. And so, but beyond that, we didn't want to be beholden just to that. That's when you get in trouble, I think, when you say we have to come out of this draft with that position. We wanted to be, when you're picking top 10, I think you should be really excited about the player that you're drafting. We got to that point, and he was a guy who kept getting better every time we watched him, every time the scouts watched him, every time the coaches watched him, and you take all that into account, and beyond that, we kind of think he's a game changer in terms of the type of person he is, the presence he has. It all made it an easy choice for us.
Just to be clear, the plan is for him to be the starting right tackle as a rookie.
That's not the plan. Everyone's got to compete and earn that. When you bring in a guy like this, you hope he does that, or you hope he brings our other guys to a higher level. There's always pressure on guys, especially when they come in right away. I think this is one person who can definitely handle it. I think you guys will be very impressed with him when you meet him tomorrow. But like I said earlier, I think it's a very good problem to have. He's going to come in and play right tackle right away. Him and Gillian will take those reps in OTAs, and then when we get to training camp, we'll throw Trent in that mix. And I think we have some depth now, and we have a lot of guys who are capable of being starters in this league. So it's a good thing to have. We'll see how this final 53 works out, but I know our O-line is in a much better position now than it was a few hours ago.
John, did the news from yesterday about Reuben Foster and his ex-girlfriend, her statement, did that have any impact on this draft? Did you guys consider linebackers at that spot?
We considered linebackers throughout this process because there were some very good ones in this draft. Ultimately, Matt, we came to the decision that McGlinchey was the guy we wanted, at our spot. And so, I answered a bunch of questions the other day on Reuben, and we're just going to leave it at that. But McGlinchey was the guy ultimately we felt like was the right pick.
Oh, we haven't had a chance to ask you since the felonies were levied. It's your locker room, your players. What's your position on Reuben's status with the team? I mean, you can count in the recanting also, but what's your position on his stance with the team?
I think the way John worded it last week or earlier this week, I think says the position for our whole organization. I know it does for me. I mean, anybody who, we can promise you guys, if there's someone who ever hits their significant other, their girlfriend, something like that, that person's not going to be on our team. And I feel strongly about that. I know John does. I know our ownership does. And that's how we feel about it. Obviously, Reuben's on our team right now, so we're waiting to see how that goes. But if that's something that we felt he did or it ended up happening, you guys will see how we feel.
John, you mentioned it in your opening statement a little bit, but how important was it for you guys to lock up somebody that could protect that $137 million investment you guys made in Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, I just think, beyond that and beyond our own circumstances and signing Jimmy long-term, does that play into it? Of course it does, but that's just a premium position in this league. I mentioned what happened to us in Philly. Not a lot of great ones out there. God didn't create a bunch of great offensive tackles out there. They're limited. We think we found a guy who has an opportunity to be that. And when you combine his skill on the field, we talk a lot about guys who represent what it takes to win games, to win championships. We feel like he's got a lot of that in him, both on and off the field in terms of the way he plays. He's a guy who, often on film, you keep the film running after a play, and even though he's 6'8" and 310 pounds, he's running 30 yards downfield to pick up his running back. Those are things that speak to us. He consistently does his job over and over. It's not easy playing tackle in this league, so it's not going to be perfect, but we found a guy who we believe can do it well for a long time.
And if Roquan Smith's on the board, you still clearly McGlinchey in your mind?
That's a great football player, Tim, but Mike was the guy, at 9. you guys are probably saying this guy's full of it because he said the same thing last year, but this was the guy we had decided at 9 was the guy we weren't going to hesitate on.
Can you move into the left side in a few years, or are you not thinking that far?
I think we're just thinking for the now, and like Kyle said, we've been lining up at right tackle right now. It's great, though, that, a lot of times you're making projections. This is a guy we've seen play right tackle, we've seen play left tackle, and so the film is out there, and so we feel good about him at both spots.
John, you said John, you said this guy really impressed you in the interview. What impressed you?
Yeah, Kyle and I, just as a general philosophy, you don't want to put too much stock in that because it's 15 minutes. I will say, however, just like I said, doing this in 2 minutes, just in my life experience, there's some people who command a room, who own a room, and like I said, I think, there were probably 2 guys that stood out from the pack. We have 60 interviews at the combine. He was a guy who came in and kind of just owned the room, and everyone felt, it wasn't just me, Kyle felt that way. Our coaches that were in the room felt that way. Our scouts in the room. He's got a special presence to him. He's real. He's authentic, and he's a badass. And we like that.
You said
Did you check in with Matt Ryan at all to see, like, just put the family connections on him? Or
No, I didn't
any other
at all. I
recommendations?
didn't want to blow our cover. And we hadn't talked to Mike since the combine. And I definitely would have checked in with Matt if we were worried about something. But we felt very good about the guy and the person. And I got a text right from Matt after we drafted him, and I got to return a call here in a second, so I'll call him now. But then trust Matt to keep it secret. So
Yeah, John, is that why you didn't, he said there's no contact really since the combine. You didn't bring him in as a top 30. Is that because you just didn't want anyone to know you're on him?
Yeah, he was a guy, when it comes to those visits, and, you have different philosophies on how you utilize those 30. There was really no more questions in our mind in terms of, his history, the feeling we had about him. He wasn't going to change much by bringing him in. So that was a guy we decided, hey, let's lay under the radar. And, we did that for good reason. And then I would tell you from the combine, closer to the draft, our feelings for him only got stronger. So we're glad that we chose to not bring him in, because I think that was a guy, you talk about a premium position, the players available. I think both tackles, Colton Miller ended up getting hotter as the thing came near as well. And so we just didn't want anything out there that he was a guy we were interested in.
Kyle, can you just give us the opinion of what you see on film? What excites you when you watch him? What does he do that fits your scheme?
I mean, good players fit our scheme, so it's a lot simpler than people think. In the perfect world, for our run game, since we're running outside zone the majority of the time, you would love a guy who can run a little bit faster and chase people down, which helps in the run game. But usually the run game starts with the guards in the center, and usually protections with the tackles, and you want to be firm in the pocket from the inside. But it's, as John said, it's very hard to be a tackle in this league, so you have to have a certain amount of ability. And lots of people are looking for tackles, and they're very hard to find. And we felt that we had an opportunity to get the best tackle in the draft, and I think a lot of people in the league felt that way. And when you're in that situation, a lot of people are desperate for them, and that's why you have to keep it somewhat of a secret, because people will jump you and take them because they're limited. So you don't find any sleepers later on in the draft when you're talking that position. So when you have one of those guys who's capable of doing it, when you have a guy who you think is capable of doing your run scheme, who can blocking. The pass game is the pass game. Can you block the guy in front of you and not let him get to the quarterback? There's no different ways to do that. Every team does it the same. This guy can do that. He can do that right tackle. He can do that left tackle. To me, what separates Mike from everyone else is the person you're getting. It always starts with the film, always. And he has that ability. He has that talent. But the soldier you're getting, the guy, how committed he is to football, his football character. He's a lineman who has started 39 straight games. I'm sure he has some injuries, but we haven't seen it because he doesn't talk about it and he just plays. And he's a guy who shows up every practice, every week, and that's truly what we believe an O-lineman should be. And you can find some like that, but some of them aren't good enough. This guy does it all, and that's what makes it not only just a safe pick, but a very exciting pick, because you're getting that talented of a guy. But I think you guys will see tomorrow when you meet him, you're getting a rare person too, which brings a different mentality of something that I think we would love to add to this building and love to add to what we're trying to build with 49.
Kyle, following up on what you've talked about, the premium position. After Jimmy took over last year, quarterback hits, things like that came down, just he was getting the ball out quick or moving around. How do you kind of weigh that in when you're talking about how premium the tackle position is?
I weigh it all in, and it's by no like there's no specific way to build a team. You take the things that are given to you, whether it's or you try to be aggressive when you have those right opportunities and not hesitate when you think something's good, whether it's free agency, whether it's the trade, or whether it's the draft. But you're trying to build a team, and you find the types of players who fit certain positions that you feel you need, and then you try to get the right mentality and the makeup that adds to your team. And Mike fit exactly a need that we did have at tackle. But what made him even more special is he's a special type of character that we're looking for. And he'll come in here and he'll fill a position for us for a long time. Whether that's right tackle, whether that's left tackle, whatever it is, we know he's going to be able to do that. But I think he brings a lot more to the table. I think he will only add to some of the strong personalities and good football character that we do have in that offensive line room. And I think our teammates, when they see him in this building, whenever he's allowed to come, probably a week from Monday, they'll know, not just from what they see on tape, but they'll know why we like this guy.
John, sorry if you had addressed this directly earlier, but you have now a lot of starting caliber tackles.
Yeah.
At some point, would you be open to trading that interim prep?
You never say never, but right now we're pleased to have great competition at that spot, and it's like I said, experience is kind of shape you, and like I'll never forget that one, and then looking out there. And it's a helpless feeling. As I said, they don't make a whole lot of them. The ones that are out there are signed, and so that was something Kyle and I talked about at the end of last year. We need to strengthen this position. We had an avenue to do that, and we're very pleased that we have.